You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
All right, it is time for our Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week, and this week it is Tandy Charley. For a lot of longtime Grace Harbor people, you will definitely remember that name, basically because he's kind of a local legend around here when people talk about very successful local athletes who may have gone on to do other things in the pro ranks, and Tandy Charley is one of those people. I first found out who he was because he played for the first iteration of the Grace Harbor Gulls. And he was kind of the older guy on the team. You know, there was a lot of young players trying to make it. So basically, when the new iteration of the Gulls happened, my brother Jimmy was kind of the Tandy Charley on the team, the old guy. But let's just say that Jimmy's previous success didn't quite measure up to Tandy's previous success.
Whoa!
Kind of throwing my brother under the bus there.
Jimmy was a really good baseball player.
He was, but he didn't get drafted in the 14th round by the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Should have.
Yeah. Come on. So yeah,
Coach would let him pitch. That's when state.
He did pitch.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my first introduction into him, and hearing different stories about how good he was and all the different success that he had. And now looking into this, I was still a little surprised because sometimes you hear about people who were really good around here locally. Everybody knew they were amazing. They get drafted, and then you look into how they did in the professional ranks, and you're like, yeah, it makes sense that they didn't really move on. I found an article that just briefly touched on him, and it said that injuries, again, I mean, when you're a pitcher, it's kind of a crapshoot. You never know when your arm's going to give out or when you're going to have arm problems, and working through the minor league system with arm problems is really tough. So that seems like it could have played a role in his attempt to climb all the way up into the bigs, into the major leagues. But in minor leagues, he actually had some pretty good numbers. So as an 18-year-old in rookie ball, 18. So he went straight out of high school, drafted in the 14th round, which, as we mentioned before in previous shows, 40 rounds in the MLB Draft. So that's pretty high to get drafted out of high school. And he had a 3.43 ERA, so pretty darn solid. Wow. The next year, he played for two different leagues. He started in rookie and then went to A-ball, and he had a combined ERA of a 2.32.
Wow. And
a lot of times you'll see pitchers in the lower leagues kind of struggle with their ERA for various different reasons, so I thought that was pretty impressive. His ERA in A-ball that year, so in the higher league that he played in, was a 2.45. And then the next year, started out, and he played in A-ball again, had a 4.34, so a little bit higher, but he still went 7-3 that year. And then he got up into Double-A ball and played the next year. When he was 21, he split the season in Double-A and Single-A again, and that was in the Chicago Cubs organization, and he had a 3.74 ERA split between those. So still some pretty darn good numbers when you start looking at how he's competed super young in the minor leagues. And I thought it was interesting to see that, yeah, it probably was injuries, because you never really know. You see an article about somebody who played a long time ago, and a decent thing to hear is, oh, they got injured, and that's what really kiboshed it. And then you find out, oh, they weren't really that good, but he was actually pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. He also had 92 strikeouts when he was playing in Single A as a 20-year-old. Definitely high proficiency there. He had 87 in another one when he was 19. And another thing that I learned here is, apparently, I don't know if they didn't have designated hitters back then in minor leagues, because right now everything in minor leagues has a designated hitter. But in 1984, in the Chicago Cubs organization, they must not have, because he had 26 at-bats, and he hit 346. He had 9 hits.
Wow.
So maybe he should have been a hit. Maybe they should have just transitioned him to first base, because he was a bats left, throws left. Maybe they should have just been like, hey, got some arm injuries. Let's put you over at first and just let you hit. I mean, that's a fairly small sample size, but a pitcher going 9 for 26.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good.
The team of realtors at Ole Penn Real Estate wish you and your family good health during this stay home, stay safe time. Their team has health and safety measures in place to protect you and everyone involved in the process. If you're thinking about selling your home, now is a great time. There are more buyers than available homes. Many homes are still receiving multiple offers and are selling for above asking price. Ole Penn Real Estate will help you put the most money possible in your pocket in less time without the hassle. Visit sellmyharborhome.com to get your home market ready. The Ole Penn team is ready to work for you. All of this is impressive. Like, even just, we've seen countless examples of guys who are really talented. Just to make it to that level and have success at that level is pretty cool.
His last year in the professional minor league system was 1984. The first iteration of the Gulls started up in 1995. So he went from pitching as a 21-year-old to a 32-year-old here on Baseball Reference. I love that, by the way, I love that Baseball Reference even has independent leagues.
It's a great website.
So it has his stats from being on the Grace Harbor Gulls. And he started 8 games the first year. Yeah, just went 1-0. So a lot of no decisions there. He had a 5.27 ERA. His ERAs didn't look great for the Gulls, but
How old was he at that point?
he was his 30s.
Yeah.
So 32
I mean, that's
to
at
35.
the point where, especially if you're a pitcher who's had some arm trouble,
Yeah.
that's probably showing a little bit.
Yeah, and he was still definitely the local hero.
Yeah.
Nasty curveball. Like, so he was still a ton of fun to watch, and it was kind of fun to look into it and see that he did have success in minor league programs and very respectable ERAs. And I mean, a 2.32 one year, that's darn good.
Yeah. I'm always impressed when I see anyone locally, because when you come from a smaller town, it's always harder to get that kind of attention. I'm always impressed when I see anyone advance up through the ranks. And like I mentioned, I mean, we've seen tons of really talented players who maybe play community college ball. And I mean, I know you were taking a shot at your brother earlier.
I was.
But Jimmy was a really good pitcher.
He was.
And not only in high school, but then he played for the Chokers as well.
And he was good there,
too. And I remember, well, you and I have been friends for a really long time. And how much older is Jimmy than you?
He's 7 years older.
7 years older. Okay, so when Jimmy was pitching for Grays Harbor, there was a time where the only time I ever watched him play for Grays Harbor College, I rode with your family to an out-of-town game. And he was having a really great season. And, you know, not only was he, like, really doing well with his fastball and his changeup, but he had just added a slider that he was feeling really good about.
Yeah.
And I rode with you guys to the game, and he got rocked.
Yeah.
He let up like 9 runs in less than 2 innings and then got yanked. Even though most of it was like, you know, seeing eye ground balls that get through the infield, or like errors that weren't counted as errors.
Yeah,
there was a couple of.
I remember that day. There was a couple of pop-ups that just kind of fell.
Yeah.
And so you're like, eh.
But Jimmy was a really good pitcher. But you know, the best part about that day didn't even happen at the ballpark.
Oh?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I remember this.
So when I rode up there with your family, and I'm a few years older than you, so you would have been like
12 or
12-ish, something like that. And I would have been like 15 or 16, and I rode up with you guys, and Jimmy wasn't with us because he rode the bus with the team to the game, and you had to go to the bathroom really bad.
What?
We were on the highway,
What?
and your dad was like, "No, we can't stop. We can't pull off. We're gonna be late. You're gonna have to hold it." And you're like, "Dad, I can't hold it." So
I don't
your
remember
dad,
this at all.
your dad pulled over on the side of the highway in an open spot and made you pee on the road next to the car. And that was the highlight of the day. So even though Jimmy didn't pitch well, at least we had that.
I don't remember this at all.
I'm shocked that you must have blocked it out. You were so angry.
That makes sense.
You were like, I have still this image of you with your hand on the van, peeing on the ground, yelling at your dad while you were peeing on the ground.
I'm just surprised he didn't pull away while I was peeing.
He probably thought about it.
That was the next part of the story that I was expecting you to take. Yeah, you're right though. I mean, I was taking a shot at Jimmy, but you're right. He was a great pitcher,
Yeah.
and yet it just shows kind of the next level.
Right, because when Jimmy went to UW and he wanted to play baseball, and he had been successful in both of the other places that he had pitched, and he couldn't get on the team at UW because he just didn't throw quite hard enough.
Yeah,
even
that
though
was the
that really
reason.
wasn't the strength of his game.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard. You can be really good, but to get to the next level, you have to be next level good. So that's why when I hear a story about, like, I don't know anything about Tandy Charley,
Yeah.
but just to know that he was able to get over the hump to that next level lets you know that he's a top shelf athlete.
Exactly. And then having some success as
Exactly,
well.
yeah.
It just absolutely. So if you want to tell us more about Tandy Charley, or maybe if you had some stories of watching him play and how good he was, or maybe you faced him in high school back in the late 70s, early 80s, let us know. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Tell a story about how you tried to hit his fastball and you were just scared. And maybe you had to go to the bathroom on the side of the road. Because facing 90 miles an hour can be scary.
You know,
That's the speed when you start to hear the ball go by, and that's scary. Just throw that out there.
that story with you didn't really have anything to do with what we were talking about, but I just wanted to tell it so bad that it popped into my head. I just wanted to tell it so bad. So I'm sorry that I sidetracked Athlete of the Week once again, because it is kind of my way. But it was worth it, right, Andrew?
Absolutely.
That's kind of your thing. Okay, that was our Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week. That was Tandy Charley. Thank you again for that sponsorship from Ole Penn Real Estate.